Better?
Yes.
Okay. So, welcome to the Power of One Voice, where healing begins with telling the truth. Today, we hold space for the story of a woman who fought her way out of a life driven by the needs of others and the pain she couldn't voice. This is about codependency, and this is about depression. And most of all, this is about rising again. And her bravery is not just surviving, but in speaking the hard parts out loud. Let's listen with our open hearts. So let's start with the root of everything. What kind of childhood influences did you have?
Some influences in my childhood
Mhm.
would be my parents. Hold on, give me a second.
Sorry, everybody.
Sorry, the owner of the ranch pulled up.
Oh, you're fine. So, you said your parents. Can you elaborate just a little bit?
Yeah, so first and foremost, hello everyone. Lulu, Mexican American. My whole bloodline is Mexican. I was born in the US. So, with that background, family is everything. So, if what I didn't learn with my mom and dad, I learned with my grandparents, I learned with my uncles, I learned with my community. So, a lot that has influenced my life is la familia, the family.
So, based on mostly tradition?
Yes, hardcore traditions.
Okay.
Where if it's, I learned to break through it, to be honest with you, because a lot of it was if it's in the family, hush hush.
Mm.
If it's a problem, hush hush. And it's just like I learned to raise my voice as for, no, I don't feel comfortable. Thank you for the invitation, but I will be there next time. And it's just like that happened, but we're not going to talk about it. So, how do we move on? How do we grow? It's not something that we take down to the grave. It's something that we could find power within the community, within our household, and we could live on. And I learned that through the passing of my dad back in 2015.
Okay. So, what were some of the dynamics or emotional neglect that you dealt with?
A lot of judgment directly from family members
Mm.
because one, it was my body size. There has to be, and there's a saying that goes 90, 60, 90. A bust of 90, a waist of 60, and a hip of 90. So a lot of the criticism came from my mother, where she would be saying like, "You need to lose weight because a husband won't like you that way." So that's where I learned to use my voice through humor. Like, if they're not gonna like me for my image, they will love me for my humor. They're, I decided to flip the script, where if you're gonna be talking, well, how's about we all laugh together? There's more to just an image. There's more than just to a smile. Like, we all have a heart. So let's just stop talking and let's sing. And that's how I learned to cope a lot of it through.
So, would you say you more or less hiding it through other means?
And when I couldn't cope with it, I would go to the hardcore learning base of just shutting down. And that's
Mm.
where the depression took toll. That's where it started. I didn't know how to process my emotions. Whenever I would talk with family about it, instead of helping me go through it, I was criticized.
Okay. Um, do you remember any early signs of unhealthy attachments?
Since I couldn't find the validation that I wanted, or the validation or love that I needed, I attached myself to a partner.
Do you want to
So,
elaborate, or you want to?
for example, the very first partner I was with 6 years. I moved out of state. I moved from California to Alabama, sweet home Alabama. Who do I know? Who do I know in Alabama when I first moved? Nobody. Zero people. Just a boyfriend, well, fiance, ex fiance I had there. So I've always had this bravery ever since I was a child. But there was a breaking point where now I see it as a red flag. But it was just like there was constantly arguments due to I've always been a homebody with a family. Like that was the first time branching out. And there was a scenario where he was just like, well, if you're not going to be doing so and so, so and so as I'm asking you, you can go back to your family. And I was just like, back to the family where I have to like obey by their rules because it's under their roof. Like, no, it's okay. Like, I will adjust myself to your liking.
Mm,
And that's where the growing begins.
um, what does depression? What did depression feel like in your early life, like when you were younger?
The depression started when I got enslaved into another household that was foreign to me. At least when I was living back home with the parents, like I had my own car, I had my own little job, I went to school, I could at least go to the corner store, I would go talk to friends. And in that scenario, I was completely shunned out. I had no vehicle. The store was like 10 blocks away in a completely brand new neighborhood. Like I I'm from a very small town where everyone is Latino, everyone's Hispanic. Say less. The South does not have the South does not have that. There's apartment complexes where sometimes we would go to sleep to fireworks. And it was just completely new. I was completely depressed. I lost my spark. I had to depend on someone else's sparks to make me feel me. But at the same time, I didn't felt like me because I was trying to make someone else happy. It was just a disaster.
Um, can you describe an emotional low point or high point, like from them?
The lowest point for me was he was a big soccer player and his only day off was Sundays. So I took it as soccer day where I could at least be out with people. He would play horribly. He was a horrible team player. But I was like, I'm gonna eat my tacos. I'm gonna be mingling with the kids. I'm gonna be mingling with like the wives or the girlfriends of the team members. Like Sunday, excuse me, was the best day for me. The lowest point of a Sunday is when when he was just like, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna run to the store. He went to the soccer team without me. We started drinking drinks after the teammate, and it was just like 6 or 7 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was going insane in that bedroom. So what I did is that his cousin, I believe, I completely lied. I was just like, hey, so and so wants me to go, but he's a little bit under the influence. Like, would it be possible if you can take me? And as soon as I showed up, my anger issues came out. I got tunnel vision, completely exploded. Later on, it was just like I knew that it hit a nerve, but it was just unacceptable that all his little community, all his little friends had to see how La Toxica or the toxic girlfriend came in and showed up. That was one of the lowest points. The highest point was when I decided that, well, it was when I went through therapy. That's when I learned codependency. And I was done with being done, tired of being tired. And I completely left. I left Alabama with the very first road trip all the way to California, me, myself, and my 3 little dogs. And from there, I just glowed. When I'm telling you, I didn't have a job, but I learned to do DoorDash. And then with DoorDash, I learned that I can go anywhere I wanted. I didn't have to depend upon anybody else. Like I'm telling you, one Friday I was in Vegas, one Saturday I was in LA, and that Sunday I was in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
It was just like the world was mine, and I didn't have to ask permission. No, from nobody. No family member, no elder, no boyfriend. It was just the car. Do you have gas? Let's go. Off we went.
So I'm assuming that that was the moment that you realized that it was time for a change. Thank you so much, Russell.
Another big, the most lowest point ever was with my second and last partner. The DV got to the point where I was hospitalized. I was in ICU for 2 or 3 days. I was hospitalized for the entirety of 11 days. Due to the circumstances, I had a blood clot stuck in the lung. I had a pulmonary embolism.
Thank you, Russell. I appreciate it. And thank you, Rick.
With that pulmonary embolism, I still went back to my abuser.
Mm,
And everyone around me was concerned. There was, she's just a friend who really opened up my eyes. She was just like, I love you for you. You always bring joy. So why do you let this person keep having access to you? It was just like, I understand this is rough to hear, but if you still keep communicating with that person, you could forget we have a friendship. And that destroyed me. So I just grabbed my stuff and ran away. That was one of the biggest things, one of the hardest things I had to go through. Not only because it was something new, I had to like pick up my bravery and run away, but like the next following year, they found him deceased outside of a nightclub.
mm.
So I was just like reliving everything.
Some blueberries. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Um, where are we at here? Did you do any like therapy or support books or spiritual anything like that?
So I opened up to therapy with this last DV case.
Mhm.
It was just so horrible that I could have easily done that. So luckily, at that period of my life, I was working for a health clinic. I loved that job, and I was so sad that I had to leave. But we did have access to like a therapist. So I knew I had to leave. I had reached out to family saying I wanted to leave. But it was just like the boy who cried wolf. They didn't believe me. They were just like, how do we know we're going to help you when you're going to come through? And I felt betrayed because I'm just like, I'm asking for help, but you're not giving to me. And at the same time, it's just like, I understand where you're coming from. So I decided to go to therapy. And I would open up and be like, this is what's happening, this is what's occurring, and this is what I want to do. So through therapy is how I was able to make an exit plan of like, you know, have your emergency funds, like have an emergency pack, like make sure all the time your vehicle has gas. Push comes to shove, sleep in your car, like in a very lit area. From there, when I actually was able to come back to California with my family, it was a big culture shock because my dad had already been deceased for, he passed in 2015 and I came back in 2020, so 5 years. And my vision of family completely changed. Like, what do you mean we don't get together for Thanksgiving anymore? What do you mean it's family family days like Easter, like Christmas, like New Year's, and is completely shocked. So I decided to go with therapy once again, and that's when I learned grounding. That's where I learned breathing. That's where I learned journaling. I don't know. I was so passionate with journaling. I could write a book if I wanted to, but I'll think about it.
um, so you just pretty much talked about reclaiming your identity and setting some boundaries. So what daily steps do you take now for your mental and emotional health?
So now, whenever I have a problem, unfortunately, I, even though I went through so much, I was so strong minded that I knew I had the power that if I wanted to, I would change. But then I developed anxiety, and anxiety completely rocked everything. So, the steps that I do for my anxiety is that I will go ahead and disconnect from everyone. When like those intrusive thoughts will come through, it might not be the most productive way, but I force myself to go to sleep. And just remember, it's a bad moment, not a bad day. Like, relax, breathe. Everything is fine. But it's hard. I can't even imagine. I mean, I don't even have kids. I love kids and I would love family. But for all the women out there dealing with everything mentally, emotionally, and still have to actually, take through with your little kiddos, my heart is to all of y'all. Because I have days that I don't even want to wake up. Like as soon as I open my eyes, it's just like, why am I even here? But then you have to shake it up. You have to think. You have to see beyond your nose sometimes because it's so easily you could shatter in your own brain. And it's no fun.
So when did you realize that you were putting other people's needs before your own?
So when I actually decided to break up with my first partner, I luckily had tickets for a comedy show. And I decided that I was gonna go and laugh. Like that's what I needed. I needed laughter. I needed to reset. In that same time, I was getting to learn to know a new connection. So on Monday, so Sunday I went to the comedy show. Sunday morning I broke up with him. In the afternoon I went to the comedy show. Monday morning rolls through. When I'm gonna go ahead and head off to work, one of my tires was flat. It was just like a nail. I ran over a nail. The air was flat. So when I go ahead and try to fix that, I get a phone call of my ex where I decided where he was just like in Kentucky. He was on his way to go to work. He got a traffic ticket. He got sent to the community cell, and immigration got him. And I had the decision of, you know what, we're no longer together. Bless you and your journey, and I'm gonna go on my way, just like I decided. I didn't do that though. I completely broke off the new connection I had because they were not supportive. I asked help from my family. They completely shut me out. They're like, you already got rid of them. Like, why are you going back? But it was just like in me, I knew that that was his biggest fear, going back to his to the motherland per se. Um, Due to that some situations that are not very pleasant out there. So that was like one of the biggest eye openers of I have a hard time detaching. Not now. I see something and I'll go ahead and block it out. But back then, I'm telling you, I sold my stock from because I used to be a fraud investigator. Sold my stock, got like around 2 or 3 grand, put it down on his books, and I actually got him out. It took me like a good eight grand to get together.
Mm,
Good time.
a lot of money. Thank you.
A lot of money for someone.
So, looking back, what role did your childhood or upbringing play in how you learned how to love or be loved? And I'm going to step and turn my air conditioner off. Just keep going. You can answer the question because I can still hear you.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Um, looking back, what role did your childhood or upbringing play in how you learned to love or be loved?
So I learned through looking at my parents, through looking at the family members, where even though there was problems within the household, you always stuck through and you always worked out through them.
Yeah.
So for me, and I still believe it to this day, I believe in marriage, but I don't believe in divorce. With that being said, I tread very lightly now because it's just like, from my experiences, do you really want to stay with this person till death do part? But it did play a big role with me with these two huge codependencies because it was just like, okay, he did this, or no, he played me that way, but no, if you truly love each other, you work through it. Not no more. Not no more.
What made you change your mindset? Just everything
The
you've been
trials and
through.
tribulations.
I said, did you ever feel like your worth? was tied to how well you could take care of someone else.
Definitely. And it's still something that I'm working with today where I don't know how, but it brings me joy taking care of someone. And not necessarily like in a strong connection, but I mean, I could be at a karaoke bar having fun, singing, making everyone laugh, shaking his body so you could have a good laugh. And if I see someone sitting down with a frown, next thing I know, I'm like sitting next to them, like trying to have a conversation.
Mm.
And I don't see that bad, but I do see it where it's a tendency of codependency. Like, I don't have to fix everyone, especially when I'm in the dumps myself.
Um, so, can you describe what your darkest days now look like emotionally or physically?
The darkest days now is just having no hope, having no goals, where I really have to like shake myself to be like, hey, you're here for a reason. Like, hey, what happened to those wishes I had as a child? Like, I still want that family. I still want those kids. Um, it's really hard going to like public events. Ugh, gross. Where I would see the families, where I see the partners. Sometimes I like bring myself down as for not so much comparing myself, but it's just like I want that. Or like, why don't I have that? And the partners that really like I envisioned myself having that family, having that bond, when they really treated me so horribly and I decided to walk away, it's like they come back and be like, I would love to have a child from you. I'm just like, I don't want that anymore. You're disqualified. Like, what? You learned that just because you felt that the love that I gave you, you were overwhelmed in the moment. But then when you're alone and you realize that it was genuine, that it was true, that it was compassionate, that I was with you with thick through thin, and now you feel sad and lonely, like now you want to come back after you completely destroyed me? No. And it's so hard dating nowadays. Extremely hard. And sometimes I lose hope. Sometimes I don't want to be on here doing karaoke. But it's just like, hey, just a bad moment, not a bad day.
Were there any moments that you felt invisible even to yourself?
Oh, yeah. So many days. I still have a hard time being alone. Invisible, where I would be at a public function or an event, and it's just like I sit in a corner, just observing, or I'll just disappear, where I just need to regroup. I need to put some distance sometimes. Learn that it's okay. It's okay to do that.
So I know I asked you this again, but this is the question that you were waiting for. So I'm gonna ask you one more time. the moment that you knew that you needed to change. Um, I think we discussed a little bit. There was something that you wanted to actually discuss.
I don't remember that very well, that conversation.
You don't remember our conversation on the phone?
I think it was the that we touched on the immigration stuff.
Hmm. That's what it was.
See, there was that one period of when I actually left and I did the crossroad country. It was something that I feared, but I knew I had to do it. And every obstacle I put mentally, I fixed it. Like, for example, as a female solo driver, it was the biggest fear that the drivers would see me, a little girl, driving alone. So I polarized this car. Limo tints all the way around, from windshield and back, where I was just like, if I pop a tire, like, what's going to happen? Went and got the best insurance and still got like that little thing that thank God I have never even used.
Oh, the gap insurance.
Yeah. So once, like, it's always scary, the first step in any situation. But once you like grab a hold of that fear and actually take the leap, it's so liberating. I did every single thing I wanted to within a partnership by myself. The biggest aha moment was I was in the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California, at a concert for Carol G, my big Latina badass, and it was completely filled with women. And I got there, found my seat, sat down. Everyone was lit, everyone was dancing, everyone was having a good time. And I remember these girls was just like, "Oh, hi, like, who are you with?" I'm like, "I'm here by myself." And they're just as, "Girl, my comments to you, I would never have done it." And that's where, like, I really sat for a second. I was just like, yeah, past me would have never done it either. But I had so much, and I say had because I'm going through it, but I had so much power where it's just like, you could put me anywhere in any situation and I will make a friend. I would find that joy through anything. The thing that changed me now is a horrible car crash. And that's where, like, I really sat with, like, okay, if I would have been gone, who would have missed me and who would have missed? And I came to the realization of what happened to that family you wanted? What happened to that little farm that you wanted to grow kids with? So depression comes in waves. Sometimes you're free and you're enjoying life, and sometimes it hits you when you least expect it, especially when you have so many traumatic events in your past. But it's just a wave, it's just a moment. I keep repeating it, but it's fine. It's just part of life. Everyone has different pathways, but just remember, we make it what we want it to. So the decision is ours.
Um, so what did you lose to depression that you still are trying to work to get back?
My spark.
Mm.
I know how to fake it now. I know how to put a smile and start laughing, giggling, and I understand my laughter is contagious. But I still feel like it's not fully there. I'm missing my bravery. Sometimes fear is overwhelming. but I'm getting it a little day by day.
Well, furthermore, I commend you. And so who were you, like you, before the codependency took root, and who are you now?
Before codependency, I was a Disney baby. I was daddy's girl.
Okay, I was gonna say, can you explain that?
I was a daddy's girl. I mean, So, okay. When my mom and my dad got together, they had such a hard time having their own family. They would like have a miscarriage or it just wouldn't go through. So, my name is I'm named after a saint because I'm like the miracle child. So I had everything I ever wanted and more. Like when I'm telling you, this little girl was about to be 6 years old and she had six piñatas. I Life was beautiful.
I bet.
From there, when like the teenage years came in and like I wanted like a little boyfriend, it never went through. Like I had my first boyfriend at 23
Mm.
in Alabama. And we already know how that story went.
Um, was there a moment that you didn't recognize yourself anymore, and what did that feel like?
I felt horrible. I would take pictures and you could just see the depression in my eyes.
So what was the moment?
The moment where I realized that I lost my spark. It would be where I wouldn't put myself first. I would always try to uplift a partner. The moment where I was completely stuck in a routine just because it was the only thing I had looking forward to. The moment where I was I would get off work and I would sit outside in my car and I would cry because I didn't want to go inside my own household.
Wow.
That's where I was just like, I don't want to be in this relationship no more. I don't want to be here no more. I'd rather be sleeping in my car at night. But it's just like, please, 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 God, I don't want to be here no more. And you know how the saying goes, be careful what you wish for? You took me out of there real quick. It wasn't how I expected though. But I got out of there. And a lot of people, it shook me when the last emergency call I did, the neighbors came out and they heard the commotion and they were just like, wow, we never expect that from you. Like, this could have been so worse, and they could have picked you up in a body bag.
Wow.
So,
So did you ever feel like to be you had to be earned through sacrifice? Like your love had to be earned, their love had to be earned through sacrifice for you, or even through silence for you.
can you rephrase that to me one more time?
So did you ever feel like as long as you were quiet or you sacrificed your words for them to love you?
Definitely. I had to play by their own rules, by their own terms, in order for the household to be calm, in order for me to get a compliment.
So can you explain if you did voice an opinion or if you didn't sacrifice something, what would the reaction be?
It would be the walls were shattered. A screaming match as for who had the highest voice. It would be he would get a paycheck on Friday and wouldn't come home on Monday. And he did come home on Monday, it was either because I went to go pick him up. And it was like the gaslighting. Like, if you would have done this, I would have reacted this way. And it was just like, well, I reacted this way because you did this. So when I learned to take accountability of my own actions, of like, you know what? Okay, I reacted that way. I overreacted that way because I didn't like this. Instead of using my communication skills, I used my anger skills. And a lot of the times, and I still battle with it today, I feel like the only protection I have is my anger.
Mm.
And it's just like, calm down, Little Red Riding Hood. We could talk to the wolf now.
Let's see. We went over. You seen the, okay. Is this a learned behavior through people like this you grew up with? Do you have other family members that suffer from codependency and maybe they are not willing to? Because you said you came from a Latino background, and I know firsthand that they're very traditional. So, is that something that maybe other females were like in your home? Seen that sort of like a seen but not heard dynamic?
I don't want to touch too much further with that
Mm-hmm.
because I do hang out with the family every Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. But I can gladly talk about what I saw in my household.
Okay.
Um, my mom wore the pants in the family.
I'm
She
sorry.
had no. My mom wore the pants in the family.
Okay.
She had no problem confronting anybody, no matter their age, no matter their race, no matter anything. She would, if she felt some type of way, if she was able to hold her tongue for 30 seconds, it was already too long. She would voice her opinion. And I think that's where sometimes my voice did shut down. Um, and I would see the struggle with my parents as for there was a situation that was not whatever. My dad went dancing with the neighbor one time. He went dancing one time and my mom threw a fit. Huge fit. Such a big of a fit that she went to that nightclub. She saw them dancing on the dance floor. She stood right in front of him. And he was just like, "You don't want to dance with me?" From there, I mean, I was a baby, so this is just like a story that I've been told. He ran and like got me out of my car seat. And that was like the only way that he knew that the door would be open. Like if he was holding me, because I've always been like a big daddy's girl. So it was like those type of situations, plus a lot more scandalous ones, where, like I've said before, it's hush hush, and we work through it. But it's always like behind doors. Like out with the public, it's just like, oh, we're dandy, we're fine. Like we're going on vacation, we're going to the beach. So I've learned to raise my voice, especially.
I think a lot of families actually deal with that because I can remember growing up myself. Um, we don't talk about what goes on at home. We don't share that what goes on at home. So I don't know if that's just I think it's stronger with um, indigenous people opposed to other people. But for sure, I know I grew up with that.
Yeah, it's just like putting up a front. And it's fine for like having the family together. But I mean, come on. If you see something, you need to talk to your partner about it.
Right.
Because I would see some scenarios where my mom would be completely mad in the bedroom and my dad would be completely upset in the living room. And it was just like nobody was talking. But you would. Yes, sir. Conference call? Yes, sir. You could just feel the tension in the house, but like nobody would talk about it. And it's just, I don't want that in my family, in my own family that I create.
How did you feel? How did you keep yourself going when you were feeling emotionally empty?
I would find things that make me happy. Like nobody can be sad. Okay, yes you can, but outside on the beach. I guess the biggest learning curve for me was finding things that bring me joy.
And
So
what are
I
those
know.
things now?
I'm sorry.
What are those things now?
So for me, I love the ranch. So let me see. This is where I'm at right now. Little paradise.
Beautiful.
I don't know if you've been hearing the roosters in the back. They have cows, they have sheep. These trees smell amazing. It's a nice, sunny, clear day. Right now, we're at, what is it, 72 degrees out here with the breeze.
Definitely beautiful.
So, nature, not only does it bring me back to like my childhood of like chasing chickens, grabbing eggs, like petting the horses, it's just like, I love it. Sometimes, like, I bring a friend out here and I'll like lay in my car with the windows down and like the roosters like just make me fall asleep. It's like peaceful. It's just
So,
like,
would you say that's part of like healing the inner child?
yes, most definitely. Like I always look forward going to my uncle's ranch. And he still has it now. So now it's a little bit different. Like I'll go and like they'll have food, but then I'll start karaoke. And I'll have like all these grown men singing karaoke with me. It's like a blast. Another thing is that I love water. I don't know if it's because I love swimming as an inner child, but like I'll go to, there's this place where they do like hot springs out in nature.
Oh yeah,
So
I've heard of those
especially when
places.
it's like, yes, it's like when there's a full moon. I always love going out there because I could see like the stars and it's just like nature really cools me out. In the case where I can't do nature, I'm a big food. I'll do like my favorite foods, or
Which is
I
what?
I
Is that your chakras you
never
were
heard
doing
of.
earlier?
Huh?
Your chakras you were doing earlier? Are those your favorite foods?
I knew you would find that funny. But yeah, it was just like I love cooking, so it like really the aromas of it brings me childhood memories. Like it somehow has to be tied to my childhood. From there, I mean, I definitely have my emotional support dog. Doesn't He doesn't really do anything, but it's just like a comfort. Um, I use this app for therapy. I do karaoke on here. Try to spread the laughter. There's this saying, or there's a part of a song that says, canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran los cielito lindo los corazones. Translates to, it's better to sing than cry, because when you sing, not only does the sky light up, but also your heart. And I live by that
Pretty.
saying.
That's pretty.
Because music transports you with any emotion. Because we all know when we're angry, I know what song I'm going to put in this playlist. When I'm happy, I know what song I'm going to play. When I want to go ahead and groove out, I have a playlist for that too.
Right. Did you ever use being needed as a reason not to confront your own pain?
Absolutely. Feeling needed, at least for me, beautiful. It kind of fills up a joy. It completely putting my emotions to the side. As for like if I'm having a bad day, like it brings me joy making you happy.
But are you happy?
Hmm?
Are you happy?
At this moment, yes.
Okay. What's the hardest boundary that you've had to set for yourself? Like for your recovery.
Chaining of my anger. I learned that with my anger, I will get nowhere. And I will regret my words the next following day. But I will have a blast while I'm riding through my anger. I
I
don't know if
love
it's a
it.
Taurus thing. I don't know if it's a female thing, an ego boost. But I learned, baby, just shut up. We'll talk about this tomorrow once I'm clear headed. But anger has definitely, I've learned to put it on the side. Once I could feel my stomach, like the turning, like I don't know how to describe it. Like kind of like a nausea type of feeling. Like I know, oh, anger has been activated. Proceed with precaution. So I'll go ahead and just shut down. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna end this phone call. I'm gonna see you later. We will talk about this tomorrow when I can articulate and have a good communication. And in the cases, because there's been cases where I won't communicate, is because I have learned that you're not worth my time.
Okay.
And that has came through my experiences.
And how has your relationship changed with yourself um, since you began to heal?
Tremendously. I would say a full 180.
But how?
Learning my emotions, learning how I react with reactions. Because I would just be so explosive, so passionate that it will completely drain all of my energy just for not having that control. I learned that controlling your emotions, not only would it bring you peace, but it actually makes you grow. Like, you know what? I know you want a reaction. And I can easily give you the reaction that you want or that you are yawning for. But guess what? I'll give you my reaction whenever I'm ready. I have control now, not you.
Okay. And what does bravery look like for you, like on a day to day?
That was a hard one. That's a good question. How does bravery look for me
How
every
does
day?
Yeah, how does bravery look like for you on a day to day?
I see it through a smile, my bravery. There's a lot of emotions that go throughout a day. A lot of them, they're not pleasant. And bravery has showed me that I'm gonna do this with a smile. I don't want to do it, but guess what? Let's get this shit done.
There you go. And how do you stay grounded when old habits or thoughts come back?
I still shut down. For example, an emotional toll that I know my anger is gonna get the best of me,
Hmm.
or that the intrusive thoughts are starting to get more power than my will, I will force myself to go to sleep. That's the only best way that I've learned. Because sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like, breathe, do the box breathing, do this. And I'm just like, I'm doing it. I'm huffing and puffing, but these thoughts won't stop. My stomach is having a field day in a circus. Like, I just learned to shut down. Sometimes I get epiphanies through dreams. Sometimes I wake up with a headache. But I've learned, as of right now, shutting down, going to sleep would like it regulates everything in my body.
How do you feel right now?
Right now, I feel calm. I feel peaceful. I've shared my story a couple of times through like women groups. So having it in this platform, it's a lot of emotions, starting with exciting. Um, I know there's a lot of people that can relate to the story, but at the same time, it is like a little bit a sprinkle of nervousness because you are being vulnerable, you are sharing a story. Some might not see your point of view, a lot might will, but as of right now, I'm calm. I'm happy.
That's amazing. And with that being said, there's a certain silence that comes with codependency, a silence that says, as long as they're okay, I don't need to be. It's a quiet pain, a slow erasing of your own identity. But what happens when the pain grows louder than the people we're trying to please? Today's guest is a living testimony that even the quietest cries deserve to be heard. This is her truth, and this is her roar through the darkness. Our guest today has, for the people watching, our guest today has requested that if anybody has any questions in the chat for her, to please feel free to ask her. Um, Something that I may not have covered. Anybody question?
Don't be shy.
Kind of looking for, let's see, kind of looking for validation or kind words right now. Positive vibes. Um, how will you tell someone who's going through it to break the silence?
I mean, what worked for me was therapy.
Okay.
It actually brought different perspectives. Now, It's not like I picked up a phone call and be like, "Hi, I need a therapist right now," and it worked out great. I definitely went through tools of like different therapists, um, especially when they're like specialized in codependency or any type of subject. Definitely find one that works for you. But when you actually take accountability and sit down with your emotions, from there is the best start of like actually wanting to open up and tell your story.
So somebody in the conversation, her name is Bree. She said we had a convo the other day, and you had said some things I resonated with, and I needed to hear.
I don't remember, but I'm glad it helped you, Brie.
She said she needs some help remembering. Oh, I
Yeah.
said um during my podcast, like on Monday,
Oh,
that just warms my heart because this is what it was all about. One person. Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm always here, and if you ever want to tell your story, please DM me. I would love to hear it, and so would the guests,
yes.
because it takes one voice. And feel free to elaborate on what I said if you can remember. It just brought tears to my eyes.
Definitely emotional and it tugs the heartstrings because that's what anybody hopes for. That your story, your struggle, your pains actually help someone else who is possibly in a similar situation and they just need help.
Yeah, and I was trying to see what I said in my panel um, that you actually resonated with. Thank you, Lulu, for your bravery today.
Can you hear the roosters in the background? Thank you.
We
Can you hear the
touched.
roosters in the background?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. And and this podcast, that's what I wanted. I wanted to touch. Okay, family. Yeah, I wanted just to reach as long as I could have reached one person, and any of us, any of our stories. If you're not aware with any of the other podcasts, the link is in my bio. Please feel free to subscribe. Um, but this is what this is about. Everybody has a story, and although there's millions of people out there that suffer with codependency, depression, other people that deal with childhood traumas and domestic abuse, addiction. Yes.
Toxic.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm gonna get Casey on here. Hopefully, I'm actually gonna call her over the weekend and see if she's available for next week. Um, but that's what it was about. One person feeling something, resonating with something. And so thank you. And wow, that touched my heart. I love that. And I was actually in somebody else's panel when that conversation went on. Oh, thank you so much. Can you see the comments, Lulu?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little blind because I was having my glasses back in school.
Yeah, put your glasses on.
It's
Put
because
your
when I
glasses
put
on.
them on, I feel like so much reflection because it's so sunny out here.
Oh,
That's why
you're
I keep taking
fine.
it off.
Um, Bree, if you want to come on the show and share your story, this is a safe place. I have an amazing mod that the moment that she sees anything negative, she gets them right out of there. We want people to be safe and heard. Oh, what's this? Hold on. Sorry if I looked away from what you were discussing, love. That wasn't my attention. No, 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 no. We were actually, that was the semi closing monologue. We were waiting for people to ask Lulu some questions. She was willing to answer questions from other people. Um, Hello, Tracy. Thank you for joining the live. We just got done discussing Lulu's codependency and depression and her breaking free from those chains. Thank you, Lulu. Or thank you, Tracy. And Lulu, I do want to thank you for sharing your story. I hope that your story reaches somebody and can help them understand that it's okay. It's okay to walk away and it's okay to say no and set boundaries. For sure. And with that being said, guys, to anyone who feels like you're losing themselves in some way in someone else's story, this is your reminder that you are allowed to be the main character of your own. Healing is not linear, and bravery doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it's simply showing up for yourself. Thank you for tuning in to the power of one voice, because one voice, yours, can change everything. And I'm going to black my screen for a moment. Okay. The reason I do that is so that when I'm editing, I know where to cut off and where to start again. It helps me with the editing.
Ah, okay.
I really appreciate everybody coming. And this brings the power of one voice to a close today. Tomorrow we will have another guest. Some of you may know him, some of you may not. But please tune in tomorrow. It will be at 5 p.m. And his is kind of a success story. It will be truly amazing to hear what he has to say and how he got to where he's at today. So please join in the Power of One Voice tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks, Lulu.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone for listening. Y'all have a good Wednesday.
And that's the end of the live. Thank you.